Hey, this is Gerd Handel, and welcome to the Inner Light Project. This show is for anyone who's wanting to lead a happier, healthier, and enlightened life. Create more self-love, inject more joy and abundance into their daily life. Join me for inspiring interviews and spiritual topics so you can shine your inner light. Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Inner Light Project. My name is Gerd Handel and today I have an amazing guest with me who is helping high-achieving entrepreneurs to find their true spiritual self. Now this woman is absolutely amazing. I've had her on the show before. She's such a genuine soul. She has really helped people to really trust in who we are and what we're here to do in this world. She's just an amazing woman. I see her as a soul sister. We've had countless conversations about how we can make a contribution in the world and help empower other women to just really nurture from within. And today we're diving in deep and we're going to be talking lots about the feminine and the male energy and how we can combine both of them and how to kind of set ourselves free, which is like what everybody is kind of craving in this world. And the key to set yourself free, which we'll explain in depth, is looking from within. And so I just want to give a warm welcome to Sally Thurley. Sally Thurley is a spiritual mentor and teacher and gives entrepreneurs the tools and guidance to kind of find God, anchor themselves in grace and uncover their highest potential. Sally, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show again and thank you for joining us in this space today.
Hi darling, thank you so much for having me back. It's great to be here.
Oh bless you. I know last time we had so much fun talking and just, oh my God, we could have spoken for like several hours.
I know, we're going to break it up. This is a good one.
This is part 2. Yeah, I just loved, last time we spoke about your story and how you transformed your life and we talked about the she-monk. This time I'd love to talk to you about the power of setting yourself and others free.
Well, it's the ultimate. Freedom is liberation. So it's where we're going whether we like it or not. Once we're awakened, Kundalini awakening particularly, you've got no choice. You're going there, you can fight, you can kick, or you can just surrender. But otherwise, our road to freedom is our road home. And the yogis say that the thing is, I think we probably discussed last time, is you don't become this mystical unicorn or this magical creature. You become a heightened version of you. Freedom is the freedom to be you in the natural self. They call that Sahaja Samadhi. So whether we like it or not, the goal of life is freedom, liberation.
So why do you think so many people find that really difficult to discover that, or why they kind of find that they need to be pushing versus flowing?
Well, because that's how we've been brought up. Everything is the context with our society is what went previously. And when you think of maybe even the 20th century, there was, Great War, there was poverty, there was struggle, there was disease. It was a hell of a century. And it pretty much wasn't until the 80s that we got a break. But then there was this thing of, oh my God, I'm going to be successful. To be successful, the only model was the masculine way. So I'm going to push and I'm going to hustle and I'm going to just be the best thing. And, that works. It's a completely valid method that works for a lot of people. But we're living in the era of the feminine. And the feminine is now saying, hey guys, I don't think so. There's another way. And that's the way of receiving. So one is to push and one is to receive. But even in receiving, we're still here to do. We are humans with bodies, arms and legs, and we're meant to be of service. So we are meant to do, but we don't need to push. We can create. And so it's just the yin and yang. There's a feminine, there's a masculine way. And some people do better with the hustle, and some people do better with the feminine. But because it's not part of our culture, it brings in an uncertainty and it requires a lot of faith. And if you don't have that faith to fall back on, then your default will be go to the push, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally understand. So it's kind of like we grow up kind of like as a baby, we know who we are, and then suddenly the world tells us, okay, it's time to toughen up and be more masculine and be this way. And even women, I find that often find it really difficult to, if they've grown up in that kind of macho energy, to actually really allow themselves to like have self-care or nurture themselves. So then it's almost like they're always pushing against what nature is actually asking them to be like.
Yeah, women are cyclical. Women are tribal. Women are supportive. We're community-based creatures. But at the same time, the masculine and feminine is not gender specific. So there are plenty of type A women out there who love eating steel for breakfast and going off to their whatever corporate jobs and, killing it. They thrive on that. And there are a lot of feminine men who actually just want to go and meditate and, live in Bali and take it easy. And both. So it's interesting how, we sometimes like to say the masculine way of push is male dominated, but there actually are, you can see, plenty of women who really enjoy that approach.
Would you say that even though women enjoy that approach, would you say that that's the right approach? Because obviously being feminine shouldn't we surely follow?
I think things to remember, it's not gender specific, it's an energy thing. We talk about energy, we're talking about really God, we're talking about consciousness and the sponge or the stuff of the universe. So it just means that there are two modes to that. There's the will, there's action, there's love, there's peace, all these things are the whole aspect of the divine. So that's what I love so much about the Indian philosophy system, because it's not a religion over there, it's purely a collection of philosophies. And they will all unanimously say there's pretty much one underlying source of all, but how it operates can be masculine or feminine. And so we tend to assign that to a male or a female, and largely you kind of can't do that. But so if a woman is masculine, she can absolutely go down that road and thrive, but it's not as common. It's not as common.
Wow, that's really interesting. No one's ever explained that before that way. Normally it's like we need to be both, but I can see what you mean. You're right. There's some people in the office that can really just push that masculine energy, and it's just natural to them.
Yes, exactly. And that's all that matters, because being natural is the road to freedom.
That's interesting, because a lot of people would say, we've all got to toughen up and that, but some people can't do that because actually it's not the flow of the rhythm of their body. The body
Correct.
wants the flow.
Correct. And what's toughening up? That's just someone's judgment and value system, and maybe toughening up for one person is becoming soft and vulnerable for another person. So even then, everything is all just bound by the context that we hold.
So say if somebody... I'm just trying to think. It's just fascinating. You've just blown my mind with that, because I was like, I never really thought of it in that way. So say if somebody, wants to set themselves free, but they're and they're female and they have that masculine energy, how would they be able to set themselves free then?
Well, that's what my Shima book is all about. But to set yourself free, first of all, you want to have the intention, naturally. And then it's a path of self-discovery. So, and then, of course, the third step would always be acceptance. So if you can sit there and just go, okay, nothing here is wrong. That's number one, actually, really, is to realise that we're in this dual universe, and we love to put judgments on things. We love to categorise it. We love to rationalise and explain it, which means we're coming from the mind, and the mind can never work it out. So the first thing to do is to get relief from that and say nothing here is actually wrong. Whether I've got cancer, whether I've just been divorced, whether I've just had a car crash, to get out of the mentality that something here happened because something was wrong. Or bad karma, which doesn't exist. That's just people don't understand karma. Or poor use of the law of vibration. They say you had the wrong vibe, which I seriously hate that. So the thing is, there is nothing wrong. Everything just is. I just had that moment. How can I hold this experience with a universe, or what I call big mind, with forgiveness, with acceptance, and then from there you'll instantly access a space of freedom, instantly. And then you'll start to see and accept your feelings and your thoughts for what they are. And then if someone is trained, say, in self-inquiry or some of those wisdom techniques, then they can use language to move the feeling or to shift it to a place of expansion. And you're free. The thing is, freedom is actually being relieved from the thoughts and what have you, and feelings and actions that keep us bound or attached or in a negative state. So freedom is to be able to shift from that regardless of who you are and what you're doing.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow. No, seriously, that's really interesting. Like, I never really thought of it that way, that actually it doesn't matter what. I guess it's like star signs as well, isn't it? It's like some star signs are masculine, some are feminine. So it's, I guess, the same thing with gender. It's like there is no... Somebody's told men that they're just like the macho energy, but actually that doesn't exist. Every human being is different, and some people may feel the feminine energy more versus the male energy.
We are all the same. We're all the same Shakti. We're all the same consciousness. We all have, actually, believe it or not, equal portions of masculine and feminine, regardless of how it's manifested. So we just need to honour both. And, maybe in some ways, some people might have had to draw on one and depleted it too much, which means they need to find the support of the other one. But know that there are times to push and there are times to receive, in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Like, particularly, look at creativity itself. I mean, everything in this universe is the feminine. That's actually the laugh, the funny thing. But when you look at creativity itself, it has to use both forces, because to get something happening, it has to have an initial force of energy or push. You know yourself, by starting a business or starting this podcast or starting a venture, there is a required amount of time of yes, creativity and downloading and receiving the intel. But then there's a time of the masculine where you actually have to get the bloody thing going. So you're going to have to get up and get your shoes on and just get doing. And then once it's established, then you go back into another mode. It's like, okay, now I can go back into this creative space where I can see, how does this want to evolve? How can I nurture it? So the two are constantly at play.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because back in my I call it my old life, I worked from like a masculine energy, but it was because I was told that to be a journalist, you need to be tough. And really, my soul was quite sensitive. So I was actually over depleting myself, and I actually burnt out in that industry. And then when I had my massive awakening, it was like, oh, I need to go into the feminine, and suddenly I went too far into the feminine side, which I guess is never really too far, but it was like to the side that I forgot about the masculine energy. And then in the last 2 years, I realized, actually, like you said, I need both, and I can use that, I can play with them. So when I need to nurture myself, I allow myself to do that, but when I need to get things done, that's where the masculine energy comes from.
Yeah, that's great. And when you're back again, I mean, obviously I'm a yogini, so my background is in Vedic philosophy. But when you look at all the gods and goddesses, they're not saying that there's a million gods and goddesses. They're actually saying there's one, but there's different qualities to all of them. But they never have a god without a goddess, ever. There's never one without the other. They always act in a pair. So where there is Shiva, there is Parvati. Where there is Krishna, there is Radha. Where there is Rama, there is Sita. And they're always saying with one always comes the other. And yet, in the highest kind of perspective of that, they say the road to the masculine is actually through the feminine. You worship her, you look after her, you make sure that she can create and love and nurture. Then you'll have this, which is called faith. You'll have this. The masculine will enter, and that's that solid foundation of great stillness. And that to me is liberation, talking about freedom. Liberation is when you realise that the internal self, or the Atman, as they call it, when you actually hit that point, it's not, people bang on about passion, and it's such getting you off path. Don't go that way, please. If I can leave you with something today, please leave that alone. Go for where that centre of stillness and peace is, and then let the divine feminine dance from that place and create and nurture and love. And that's the ultimate, and it's beautiful. And if you can start each day by trying to get into that balance through your devotional practices or your wisdom or your meditation, whatever you do, that's actually where you want to get from. And then you're allowing the universe to work on your behalf. And the universe will say, hey, dude, get off your ass and do something. Or it's going to say, no, today you're not going to make that call. Today you're actually going to cancel everything and you're going back to bed and watching Netflix. So both of those can be really valid, depending on what in this moment.
I guess it's the power of your intuition, listening and paying attention to what your body needs in that moment and how you're feeling.
Absolutely. But I like to say intuition with discrimination, because we need to be able to learn how to discern intel, because the ego is a very sneaky thing, and and energy can be positive and negative. So to be able to discern means that, okay, my intuition is saying this, and your intuition can lead you up the garden path if you don't have that ability to discern and go, okay, no matter how much I want this or how much I'm repulsed by this, I've got to do this. And that comes from just being wise and being calm.
You always make me think. I love that, yeah. Wow. Yeah, I'm just fascinated by everything you've just said. It's just, I guess, because so many people are telling us this is the way, too often we're allowing others to kind of tell us this is the path, but actually it's about listening from within and what is your path and what is it that you need in that moment and what can you apply in that moment to help you.
100%. And also there are a lot of half-baked people out there. I mean, we have an experience of the self. That doesn't mean we're enlightened, but suddenly everyone's out there teaching. And I really believe you've got to do the time. Yeah. And you've got to do the time. You've got to put the hard yakka in. And as I've said before, spirituality is the way you live. It's your approach to everything you do in life. It's not one or two little things that you do every now and then. But the other thing is, once you find something that lights you up, then you've got to explore it all the way until you can get rid of it. Explore it, marry it, and then till you get to the point where you realise, I don't need this, but that's what you pay homage to. That was your path. And just keep an ear out, when people say, oh, there's only one law, or there's this, or this is the way, or that's the thing, that just means that's where they had their experience of awakening. But there's so many roads home, otherwise why would there be such diversity? There isn't just one way. It's rubbish. There are many ways, but there is a way that's going to be particularly beneficial to you. And even if some of that way shits you, really rubs you off the wrong way, that's actually part of it. You need to become friends with our reactions. So everything is a divine teacher.
Wow. Yeah. I guess as well, that's interesting that you said about people saying that's the way. And I feel like you're right. There is never really one way. You'll be guided to wherever your destination needs to be, but in the process, a lot of people, and this is what I don't know if you see this as well, but we've been told this is your career path and that's it, and people get stuck in that career path and then they're like, it doesn't excite me anymore. It's because they're not allowing themselves to open up new possibilities or try something new that will empower their soul.
We're not what I call my spiritual teaching is big mind, big heart, big being, and which basically means that you have to be open and universal at all times. So big being is saying, okay, I've made this decision. The Dharma states I'm going to do everything to my best of my abilities and responsibly with that decision that I have made. But you have to be flexible enough to go, okay, now it seems I have to move over here. It might mean I have to drop this and I can't explain why. Or, you just need to be really open to what the divine intel is going to be and not make meaning out of it, because we're so paranoid about what people think or how much we've invested in something, our own pride. And the whole idea is to actually hand that over, but you still have to be a human. And I mean, it boils down to, of course, that means we're living from our smaller self. We're coming from scarcity when we're constantly thinking we have to manage and control life. And that rips us off. So we're not free. We're not living an empowered life. But empowerment is actually saying there's no such thing as a mistake. So if I lose my home tomorrow, or if something happens, it's just a part of a greater divine plan. And in all essence, I have all abundance coming to me in any moment, whether I lose my house or not. So we stop the fear we know it's going to be an unpleasant experience, but we can hold a state of being that can encompass everything. And so back to the system, I seem to be falling back on that a lot today, but it just answers everything. Is they say that we come into this dual world, but we come from a source that is pure. So when you come here, you come from universality, because that's who you are at your highest level. Then we hit this mortal coil, and we become dual. So suddenly there's us and there's others. And liberation of freedom is when you say, within you and me and us and others, we are still this universal context, this universal whole. And that's a liberated perspective. So that's what we want to move towards. And yet that's not something you can't fake it till you make it. It has to come from the inside out, which means we have to have had experience of breaking through duality, which comes through the hardship. So there's no problem with that. Hardship's only a problem when we think it's a problem. But it's something that helps turn us into these beautiful, shiny gems, these light beings that we are.
Definitely, and it's like the hardships actually help you to become who you're supposed to be. And if we didn't go through them, then yeah.
If you don't go through them, my God, I have things for you. You've shut down half of life. One thing I can't stand is Pollyanna. I call it Pollyanna syndrome. It's like, never seeing the bad, only seeing the good, and suffering is your fault because you had the wrong vibration.
Oh my God, no!
It's like, oh my God, you. That's fine, darling. You stay here for another 50, 100 lifetimes, but I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm back with God, buddy. So you believe that.
It's just like when people say that you can be happy 24/7. I'm like, no, that's not true. You've got to have the sadness. Like, that's why there's so many people out there who are on medication, because they're so afraid to listen from within and actually listen to what they need to hear and what the divine is trying to say to them. And
correct.
It's like, why? Just let yourself feel that emotion.
I know, and the quicker you actually feel it and dive into it, the faster you're happy again. The happiness returns really quickly.
Yeah.
That's the deal. That's like what I call the she-monk thing. Or it's like they're here. They're part of the human experience. Embrace it. Like, go to the bottom of it and realize it can't hurt you. And then you find the joy inside of that, and you end up laughing, and you just get back on with your day.
Yeah, I think the key as well is to, in that process, understanding what needs to be raised to the surface, and also like the awareness of what's happening, that it's temporary, it's not the future.
Always temporary. The only thing that makes it not temporary is our mind's inability to process it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, wow. It's just
we need a sangha. Like, we all need community of like-minded beings working towards upholding the Dharma, which is the traditional explanation of a sangha. But we need spiritual community. We need to hang out with our own kind who are doing the journey with us. And in that, you're naturally elevated by this joint consciousness collective.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people are afraid of that, as in, like, they're like, oh, I want to enter like the spiritual closet, but I don't want to tell anybody, and like people may judge me or people may say things. But the thing is, the best thing that you can do is go on that journey, even if like the people around you don't understand what you're doing or what you're kind of interested in. Once you set on that path, it's like the universe opens up opportunities where you meet people on similar paths or have gone through what you've gone through, and you can like that ends up becoming your community.
Yeah, you meet your family, you meet your peeps. You do, and of course, but that's why people don't understand freedom. Like, whether you're coming from spiritual enlightenment or whether you're coming from self-actualization, which is more the personal development path, you're going to have to do things you're not going to like, and you're going to lose a lot of people along the way. And no one actually in the tribal mentality wants you to thrive. They want you to thrive within their boundaries. So as soon as you step out and do something different, you're going to go through it, regardless of whether it's spiritual or personal development, or psychological. So you may as well just do it and just start going, okay, this time next year I'm probably going to only have 7 out of my 25 friends. Let's just do it. Let's just get on with it.
It takes me back to a time when I was on my own, like, beginning path, and I got made redundant, and I remember coming home and I was actually happy, Sally, and I was like, freedom! I was like dancing around, running around the flat, and my flatmate was like, I'm really sorry. She's like, what are you going to do next? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to trust what happens. And she thought I was mad. But it's because I was ready to surrender. I was ready to say I was tired of this workaholic lifestyle, not being happy, doing things for the sake of it, and just really wanted to discover who I was, like that child that I was when I was 5. And, go into nature and do, like, dance and be free. And I think that's the key, is once we allow ourselves to start dancing to the rhythm of a child, that's when we discover what freedom is.
100%. That's beautifully put. And life is a dance. And the more we can realise and see it and experience it, that's such joy.
Yeah. I think the key as well is to remember that the rules that we've been told are man-made. They're not Mother Nature.
That's right. Yeah, there are universal rules, but even then they're wobbly. So many people love saying this is the law of God, and then there's another one that counteracts it, and there's this and there's that. But there is always a natural order to the cosmos, and absolutely we can create by doing what you're doing. By surrendering, by living in the moment, by inviting in possibility and living from potentiality. That's just intelligent use of being a human being. But the greater thing is actually dictated by something that's so much bigger than us. And, the ultimate surrender to that is just adds to that deliciousness that you have of wanting to be free and to dance. The rules and the laws we need, as long as we can hold them in that way, it's like, okay, for my society to function and for me to want to live here. And I personally live in a great country in an incredible city. It's possibly the nerdy, more conservative part of Australia, and I'm really happy about that. It's just everything functions really well, and I like that. But then I need time in India every year, which is the total opposite. It's utter chaos. It's mental. It's crazy. It's full of pollution. There's so much rubbish there. Like, it takes a good 3 or 4 days to get over the horror of what you're walking over just to get to temple. But I get other stuff from that. But all societies need laws. We've just got to understand why they're there, and that doesn't mean that they tell us how we breathe, which we just. And that we don't necessarily, there's nothing we have to fight against, unless of course you come from a society that's going through a contraction. That's a different story, but in general they're good.
Yeah, that's, as you were saying that, I could hear in my mind say that even in India, where there's so much chaos, you can always find true liberation.
That's actually, it's a fast track. That's why I take people. It's a fast track to liberation, because particularly with our Western brains, like if you can handle and come to terms with what you see, like I have to interview people scrupulously before we get to India. It's like if you're a animal activist vegan, you're not coming with me. I just won't have it, because you're going to want to save the dying puppies that are going to be licking your feet one day and then dead the next. Yeah. So. But then India has the most strict cultural laws. Like their families, it's so tight, and the women can't breathe over there. So even though it looks like it's free in some way, they're as conservative and tight as anything in other ways. But the Indians aren't external people at all. Like there's very rarely you go somewhere and you'd say, gee, that's a clean, beautiful building, or that road is really good. It just doesn't happen. But they're internal, which means they're naturally expansive in the inner world, and that's so much better. And it's so much easier if you're on the spiritual path to be around people who have that big being. And I always say it's a no-brainer. You just go over there, and the nature of the place itself will push you into a more awakened state. It's so easy over there to meditate, and even if you're somewhere and there's dogs barking and it stinks and there's people on mobile phones and tuk-tuks, and you seem to meditate, this deep, beautiful presence arrives. So yeah, it's a wonderful experience.
Yeah. It's one place that always takes my breath away is the Golden Temple. Like, it's all chaos on the outside, and the moment you walk in, it's just like peace. And it's like, what? But we're in a chaotic place. And yeah, I find that when I'm around there, I feel really grounded. And every time I've gone to India, I've gone there and I felt really emotional, and I've felt really connected to myself. And it's like somebody's trying to remind me that, you know, there is chaos around you, but you can still find your inner wisdom.
You just nailed it, girlfriend. You know, over here we shut the doors, we turn out the lights, we close the curtains, we shh, amazing. And yet, if you're not peaceful on the inside, no matter what's going to happen, your outside's going to be chaotic. You need to be able to hold that peace and wisdom on the inside. Nothing matters. If you can sit in rush hour, you know, in the CBD of your city with all the craziness going on, and find that stillness, then you're doing well. But it's not the flip side where the outside world has to meet your requirements so that you can find peace in the inner world. Yeah,
that's so true. That is so true, because a lot of people go to like different countries to go for like the quietness, but when they come back, they're kind of like, oh, it's not the same, and it's because it's the inner voice and the inner wisdom that's being chaotic.
Correct.
My lovely. So I wanted to ask you another question, and it's about self-knowledge Sangha.
Yeah. Well, I have been a very reluctant spiritual teacher. I was told, because when I was giving workshops and always trying to find a way to be more worldly, like spirit first, world second, but I wanted people to see that there's a worldly way. It's called Tantra. And so I thought, I'm just going to go out there I'm an entrepreneur, but what happened when people started to have awakening? So I would go and run a workshop in like how to be a soul brand or something, which is something I'm really good at. But they'd all be having these awakenings. I'd be getting all these calls going, I didn't hear a word you said, but what's happening to me? I'm having these experiences. I'm like, oh my God. So I had to ring my teacher and I said, I don't know what I'm getting wrong, but I'm out there and all these people are waking up, and I'm going there to try and help them be this, but they're needing like just how to bloody breathe and meditate. And he said, my dear, you're going to have to start running a satsang. That means you carry the Shakti. And I went, oh, and I didn't want to. I went, oh, thanks. And I hung up and went, yeah, whatever. And then it just kept going. It went like from bad to worse. And I went, oh, God. So I started running a satsang, and I took my daughter to India in 2017, and it was just this crazy, this one I love so much about the universe. Like, my ego was saying, don't you dare become a spiritual teacher like that. Don't you dare go. People are going to harass you. You know, people in the West, they nail their spiritual teachers to a cross. Like, don't you dare do it. And I was actually not owning that part of me. I was manipulating it, finding avenues. And then I had these spiritual teachers, these great teachers in India saying, hey, I've been watching you, I see you over in India. What's all this business bullshit about? And why aren't you running a proper ashram or you're a spiritual teacher? And I didn't even know these people, and I was going, what the hell? So I started to visit them, and one was the head of the Vedanta Society in India, and another was one of the top Kashmiri pundits in northern India. And all these great people were contacting me, and so I realized, okay. So I said to one of them, well, what do I do? And they said, oh, that's pretty clear. You're already giving satsang. You need a sangha. I went, okay. What do I call it? Guys, look, everything about you is awareness and knowledge. You're wise. So it should be called the self-knowledge sangha. And this is the feminine way. I didn't overthink it. It wouldn't be what I'd want to call something. And so I registered it. I got the self-knowledge sangha, and he said, your satsang is the center of awakening and learning, obviously. And he didn't know the first thing about me. So actually, there you go. That's the absolute honest truth on how I started the sangha. But idiot me had to do it as a meetup because I was so not going to be a spiritual teacher. And so So I started with this kind of entrepreneurial community, and they looked at me like I was a unicorn with 7 heads. And then in the end, after the last 2 trips to India and last year, I got crunched again in a good way, as I was saying before.
Yeah.
I service type, that's my spiritual nature. So we get crushed. That's just how it is to the day we die. It doesn't matter. Don't make it mean anything. And I fully embraced it, and now I've got, you know, an Indian community that come, and I've got regulars, I've got business people, which makes me happy. They come, and I've got, you know, yogis, I've got Christians, I've got everyone. It's such a variety of people, and it's growing, and it's just lovely. It's just a home base, free for people to come.
Amazing. And where is it hosted?
Yeah, so I've got it's actually both online and offline. I mean, the satsangs, of course, everything is here at my home, the Mornington Peninsula, south of Melbourne in Australia. But I have a group in Facebook, the Self-Knowledge Sangha, and I live telecast everything. And I also have an online ashram. So I call it the Shemunk Master Group at the moment. But so for people who want to do the study group and the meditations together and spirit and ask me spiritual Q&A, I give them everything in there. So that's like the same, it's like the Sangha but a membership program. So I also do open, you know, Dal night. I open my kitchen up. I have open house and feed people, and we do temple visits. It's just such a lovely buzz. And so if someone's had an awakening, at least now I've got something to put them into to help support them. Because seriously, when that happens, it's actually their responsibility. Like, you know, so you have an awakening, but the spiritual path is actually, well, how are you going to take that to enlightenment? So many people go, oh, I'm awakened. You're not enlightened. You're actually just 1 foot through the bloody gate. You've got to get through. You got to get through the other side. So you have, the whole thing is, how can I create a space that fills their cup, that repairs the damage that the world does. When you integrate with the world, it cracks your cup and you lose grace during the week and you get depleted. So it's just a way to nurture the awakening, but how people will handle that is totally up to them.
That's beautiful. Because it's true, like you can't, like you just said, you can't be awakened in one moment. It takes decades and decades.
Yeah, it's a long game. And the funny thing is, in the moment, because when you realise everything, you go, I didn't need any of that. But you did until you got to that moment. This is how it is, you know, so you may as well. And I love the way the yogis say, like, yes, put everything into your liberation, but just live a good life. Live dharmically, live spiritually, be of service, be humble, be kind. Those sorts of things. That's spirituality. And then you'll find you're living this beautiful free life anyway. And then you might be liberated, you might not, but it's not far away if you can keep that up, and it's rich and delicious.
Yeah, that's so true. It's I guess it's taking away the ego and just living in true freedom, that way you just feel connected to everything and everyone.
Correct. Yeah.
So Mazit, we're coming towards the end of the show. It's gone so quick. I've got a few more questions there for you. The first one is, what are your 5 top tips for someone who's wanting to set themselves free but they don't really know where to start? Yeah,
I came up with a technology called the Spunda method, and basically, if you don't know what it is you want, and I'm not talking like you like this, you don't like that. I'm actually saying, what is it that, when we were talking before and saying our inner state is X, so for you it might be bliss, for another it might be peace, for another it might be wisdom, for another it might be stillness, for another it might be knowledge or whatever, abundance. When you don't know what that is, you don't understand how everything in your life is lining up for you to be that. So freedom is actually getting that. So that's like the core work I do. And I think when you really realise, what is it I'm chasing? Because whatever you're chasing is already inside of you. People are chasing freedom, which is funny because freedom is your natural state. You are already that. So then it's like, well, in the understanding of that, then this relief, this absolute relief comes, but so does the action steps. It's like, who do I have to be? What do I have to do? And then your life just heals. This miraculous, spectacular healing. So, and that's what I call the spiritual brand. It's really just, I hate using the word brand as business, but for people who know me it's kind of a joke, but who are you being? It's your being. And then of course it's the path of the heart, big heart. So what do I need to forgive? What do I need to acknowledge? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to embrace? What do I need, what judgments have I been holding? Then of course big mind. So moving to how do I use my language? Do I speak from my higher self? Do I speak from my lower self? Does my language, is it self-loving and kind and nurturing, or is it diminishing to me as a being? When I talk, do I leave a sense of expansion and happiness? So those sorts of things sound simple, and they are simple, but they are masterful to be able to pull off. Another thing is, of course, how can I help someone else today? So sometimes when we're miserable, we're feeling trapped, we're too focused on us. So a really great thing is to think, who needs my help? Who can I make dinner for? Is it my next door neighbour I don't even know? Do I just drop in a pie? Like, whatever. And then, we've been talking about the masculine and the feminine. It's looking at the polarity and seeing, how can I make this whole? What part of me needs to soften? What part of me needs to get off my ass? Like, really looking at where, like, do I need, as I was talking to you before, do I need to take on the grace of an elephant or of a bird, or do I need to go and sit in a park, or do I need to just bloody pick up a phone and start doing a few things? So just learning when to act and when to not act, and finding that lovely balance. These are all great ways, but it really starts fundamentally with who am I? The great question, who am I? And what is it I most want? As in, what part of my inner state resonates the most with me and will heal my life?
Wow. Yeah. Wow. They're powerful. Thank you. Wow. Yeah.
You're welcome, darling.
Even you've got me thinking, I'm like, wow, I never really thought of it in that way. That makes
good stuff.
Yeah. It's the good stuff. My last question is, what shines your inner light?
I've said this before, I just get myself out of the way and it just shines. And the more I get myself out of the way and the more I allow this big mission to come through and stop trying to play small with it, then it shines out of control. I can't tap it anymore. I can't even cover it. It's like, it's just there radiating. For me now, it's more like shine management.
I love
I'm in
that.
shine management mode.
That's funny. And last question is, what does freedom mean to you?
Being with me. Just being with me, not giving a rat's ass what anyone thinks or does. Freedom is me, and it's about my relationship with God.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sally, for seriously sharing everything. That was amazing. And yeah, definitely given a different outlook about freedom. Thank you so much. And keep shining your light, and because everything that you're doing is amazing. And I know that everything that you've learned over the decades of work that you've done is really coming into fruition and helping so many entrepreneurs and people to really be who they're supposed to be in this world.
Yeah, thanks, gorgeous. That's what I want for everyone. Be you, get out there and be of service.
Wow. Once again, Sally has blown my mind. It's just, I just love conversations like this because it's so true to just, everything you need is from within. However, sometimes we can't figure that out. So sometimes we need a sisterhood of women who are diving in deep and also can give us the wisdom to trust what we need to hear in that moment. And that is what Sally does. She helps you to really trust in what the divine created you as, and just trust that everything will work out. The moment we eliminate the fear and the guilt and the shame, that's when we can truly listen to our inner voice. Unfortunately, that's the end of the show. Before I leave, I want to leave you with this quote. Letting go is an art of setting yourself free. That's a quote by the Unreal Escapist. For more information about the show, visit www.gerdshandel.com. And remember, stay happy, stay healthy, stay lit.